So Mikado retakes 4th position ahead of Hugo Claire, the 333 back ahead of the number 4. And looking at Josh Hook on that lap, was almost 1 second quicker than the pair just in front of them. So, but yes, 25 seconds back. So as we were just talking about just before, we look back at the battle for the top stock honours. Taylor, that Josh Hook has got a bit of an uphill climb, but he is the 4th fastest rider on track at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, considering the start they had and the crash, to only be a minute and 40 behind, they're actually still doing incredibly well. They have been the fastest bike on track for quite some time in this race, both with Alan and Josh. So there's every chance they'll still be able to drag themselves back into this. Unfortunately, compared to the Yacht bike, when they are the fastest bike on track, they're perhaps only 0.2, 0.3 faster. So obviously that's a heck of a bridge to climb. But as we keep saying, this is endurance racing. Anything could happen yet. Yacht have had their fair share of troubles over the years. They're an incredibly experienced team, but we'll have to wait and see. I have actually had a text in from my dad, who is relaying information from my brother, which is our resident household expert, as he finished on the podium at Suzuka last year. And he said his teammate last year was Alan Tetcher, the French rider, Josh Hook's teammate now, said an 8-hour race compared to a 24-hour. The 24-hour race pace is a breeze in comparison to racing an 8-hour race. This is much more just like an all-out sprint. They're used to doing 30-minute, 40-minute sprint races like this, and when you've got 3 riders as well, you've got a minimal amount of stints to do, so you can really go all out, and perhaps we will see more crashes as a result of that in this, because they have to push so hard to try and win the race.
I think it's amazing that your brother can say it's a breeze while riding for as long as he did, especially in the humid conditions of Suzuka. So yeah, for us mere mortals, that just sounds insane, to be honest. So big thanks to Taz McKenzie for sending that information over. So big appreciate that, and hopefully we'll be seeing Taz again in the Suzuki 8-hour. Probably not this year, because I think it clashes with World Superbikes this year. So maybe, hopefully, and maybe next year.
Yeah, it's a real shame it clashes with the World Superbike event this year. My brother absolutely loved racing in it last year. Said it was one of the most difficult races he's ever done in his life. For people at home that don't know or have never been, it's one of the most humid races on the calendar. 8 hours of endurance race, and it's very taxing, and they're at a full-on, flat-out race pace, coupled with the fact that there's very experienced Japanese riders that race there all the time, really pushing the guys on. And yeah, it's a huge race for manufacturers. The Japanese manufacturers want to win that almost as much as they want to win a MotoGP race or a World Superbike Championship, because it means so much to them. It's got so much history, and yeah, it's a very interesting and prestigious race to be involved with.
If motorcycle racing ever had a triple crown like we're doing cars, I'm sure this is okay. Would be one of them, because, as you say, Taylor, the Japanese manufacturers put all of their efforts into winning that race, as we saw with Honda this year have put Johan Zarco in the team for this year. So a very big name coming over to the Suzuka 8-hour in just a few weeks' time. But before they do that, they're going to have to stop the Yacht team, who are absolutely clearing off at the moment, just rattling off 1 or 2 minute 21s like they're going out of fashion, to be honest, because on that lap 2 minute 21.9, the lap before 21.8, and the lap before that 21.7. so Marvin Fritz is starting to lose a little bit of lap time, but in comparison he's the only rider still in the 1 minute 20 or 2 minute 21s. So yeah, formidable pace out front from the Yacht team at the moment. So with just coming up to the 1.5 hour mark, by your maths, Taylor, will we be expecting another pit stop from the top riders in the next few minutes or so?
Yes, if you could do 48, add 48, that's the sort of time we'll be expecting a pit stop. I'm glad you put that on me there. I'm out after my 10 stints. I need a calculator again to figure out the next bit. But yeah, we are coming up to the second pit stop of this. And as I said before, except the Honda TSR team, these guys have all got 3 riders. So we'll be on to the 3rd rider stint. I'm very much looking forward to that, as that means Dan Linfoot will be out on track for the Yoshimura Suzuki team. Rode amazingly well last year to claim the Superstock Championship in the UK, and he's been riding exceptionally well, winning last time out in Le Mans, so that's an amazing achievement for Dan. and he absolutely loves riding this bike, loves being part of this team, sends me updates during the race weekend as we come in now.
Yeah, so your maths were absolutely spot on, Taylor. That's why I threw it over to you there. And it wasn't throwing you under the bus whatsoever there. So, yeah, the Yart team coming in for their second stop. That's Marvin Fritz jumping off. We'll see Carol Haneke jumping on, and just a little bit of chit-chats in the way, just a bit of advice, and then away he goes. So Carol Haneke in, and away he goes. Carol Haneke, a former Red Bull Rookies Cup champion, and I believe Taylor raced your brother in the season that he won along with the likes of Jorge Martin, Enea Bastianini and Toprak Razgatlioglu.
And Juan Mir as well. And just to throw another name in there. Yeah, it was quite fast that year.
Yeah, very fast. They've all gone on to great things, haven't they?
Yeah. It's funny looking back, because I do remember watching that when Taz was in it, as just a bunch of kids riding around. There was also Masia was in it at that point, who won the Moto3 Championship last year. And Masia was up to your hip, basically. He was so small. His Alpine-style boots nearly went over his knee sliders. His legs were that small. And then Juan Mir, Martin, Haneke, all amazing riders. And this young Turkish kid, who was just a stunt rider from Turkey, ended up getting ended up riding in the Rookies Championship. Completely wild, crazy, but exceptional. And when he did any good, he did exceptional wheelies. And that was how I remember Toprak at the time. Obviously went on to be Toprak Razgatlioglu, that we all know and love now, amongst all these other riders. The Red Bull Rookie Championship, because it produced so many good riders, and essentially for people that don't know what the Red Bull Rookie Championship is, it's like the X Factor for kids of motorbike racing. So the best of each country apply to be involved in it. You go to a selection event, and then they pick normally one or two from each country around the world that get put into this championship. And over the years, it has produced some of the best riders in the world. Brad Binder was in it, Johan Zarco that we spoke about before. The list goes on. It's actually really interesting if you go on the Red Bull Rookie site to look at the riders that are on there, because it shows you every single rider that's come through it. But as a byproduct of that, we've ended up with a lot of them in World Endurance, because they have to go somewhere eventually. Josh Hook, Alan Tetcher, all riders that have raced in that championship. And one that I've kept my eye on this weekend is Nico Toni, who I raced against all those years ago, and he suddenly appeared again in World Endurance.
Yeah, lots of great riders coming through, and of course Marvin Fritz is also one of them as well.
Marvin, you did again a perfect stint. You were able to increase the gap between you and Suzuki, also the BMW. And I don't know if you know, but the Honda has fallen. So you are respecting the plan at the moment, no?
Yeah, I mean, it's 8 hours, it's a sprint race, and our goal was to push every lap the maximum. Of course, not go over the maximum. This point is small, but we are feeling great on the bike, tires working well, and I just do the same like my teammates.
Good luck for the rest.
Thank you.
Marvin Fritz put in a mega stint there. We were just talking before we came in for his pit stop to hand it over to Carol Haneke, setting consistent lap times in a 2:21 lap times that no one could hold a candle to, that only others could dream of for now. But we're only 1.5 hours, just over, into the 8 hours of Spa, so anything can happen so far. But for the moment, Taylor, it looks like Yart are very difficult to lay a glove on.
Yeah, very much looking in control. You can kind of relate there when Marvin's talking about this being a sprint race. For him, essentially, he's got 3 stints today, maybe 4, depending on what happens in the race. And in Superbike racing, and World Superbike or British Superbike, you get 2 races in a day. So he's got 3 today, slightly longer, but it is just about doable to go all out and give it everything you've got for that stint. But as he said, that's where they're pushing at the absolute maximum, trying not to go over the limit. But it's so easily done to ride on the limit like that. That's why we saw Josh Hook slip off. And I really do think in these shorter races, you've got more chance to see more mistakes come in, especially later on in the race when riders are getting tired, perhaps not riding completely thinking straight when fatigue starts coming in. And we talked about earlier the mental strain on your body that it gives you, that's when we'll start seeing the mistakes more.
Yeah, round about what time do you think? Maybe the 5-6 hour mark? That's when you'll really start to see the riders struggle?
Yeah, because we'll be into the riders' third stints then, and depending on what happens with the race. But the first stint, they're all fit professional athletes. They'll be really they can go all out in that first stint. You won't see any signs of fatigue. The second stint is where you start thinking about it, and then the third stint, that's where it really starts kicking in. It's not too bad today because we are at Spa, and the weather's a lot kinder to them here compared to where they're in Suzuka, and it's really hot and humid. So this race is probably one of the easier ones on the calendar for them, but they do have to go all out with their race pace.
Yeah, the sun is beating down, and I'm sure the riders and of course the mechanics are starting to build up a bit of a sweat. Europe at the moment is really starting to go through a bit of a heat wave as we go into the middle part of June, as we see Sylvain Guintoli come in for his pit stop to hand over the number 37 BMW Motorrad machine. We've just had, I was about to say, I was looking at his lap times in the last couple of laps. He was dropping into the 2-minute 21s as well, so obviously with the fuel expressed and pushing on a little bit before he can hand over to Michael Czech, the Ukrainian rider, and another phenomenal rider as well, another endurance stalwart as well. Le Mans 24 Hours, champion as a Spa 24-hour winner in the first year of the team, where along with Marcus Reuterberger as well, competed in World Superbikes for 9 races and got a best result of 8th position. So absolutely no slouch, and a stalwart for the BMW team. Taylor's an absolute phenomenal rider, isn't he?
Yeah, and raced BMWs for a long time as well. I remember in 2016 he was in European Stock 1000 then, and still racing BMWs now, so he's got a lot of experience.
Won the championship, right?
He did, yes. Yeah, very fast rider, and yeah, very experienced in this, so he'll put in a strong performance here. We just saw Sylvain then, he's getting faster. He's like a fine wine, a fine French wine, Sylvain. He's just getting faster and faster as he gets older. It's amazing to watch. Very experienced and put in an amazing stint there. So we just see the leg coming out here for the CERT team, so we'll expect to see them making a pit stop coming in now.
Yeah, Masson will be handing it over to Dan Linfoot, and Linfoot in his only second round for the team is showing great form so far. I can't believe that he's 35 years old already, is Dan Linfoot. He feels like he's been around for a long time, but also not that long at the same time. You still think of him as this young up-and-comer. Yeah.
It's funny, motorbike racing, you're either up and coming or you're past it. There's no in between. You just, that's how quickly your racing career goes by. But Dan is, again, not necessarily getting faster with age, because he's always been really fast, but perhaps didn't get the opportunity to show his speed through injury and a few unlucky seasons in BSB. So it's great to see him back being competitive and showing what he's capable of as he just heads out now.
Yeah, very quick pit stop for the set Yoshimura Moto team, and I think Taylor, as we were speaking about 5 minutes ago, your matter have been absolutely spot on as well with most of the top runners and riders. So with the top three all making their pit stops, we're still waiting for Leandro Mercado on the 333 machine. Josh Hook, he's still out there after his off. He was setting 2-minute 22s a couple of laps ago, but dropped back into the 2-minute 23s. Not sure if he's maybe hit some traffic, but the last time we spoke about them was about 5 laps ago, and they've cut down the gap to the 333 that's coming into the pits now, down to 20 seconds from 25. So Mercado, he'll be coming in, and he'll be passing the bike over to Florian Alt. Yes,
the next guy. Another ex-Red Bull rookie.
Another ex-Red Bull.
Probably the tallest rider on the grid.
Yes,
see him there with a blue helmet.
Another fantastic rider coming through the Red Bull Rookies Cup. They breed a lot of young talent, and as you were just talking about earlier on, Taylor, they come through, and a lot of them are now in the Endurance World Championship.
There's almost, it's like musical chairs motorbike racing, and there's not enough chairs for that many good riders, so they end up somewhere. Especially, you do find it we're very fortunate in our country that we have so many good domestic championships and places where people can make a career, but for a lot of these the TSI guys have to take the bike in.
Yeah, so Josh
that crash,
he's powered on for the last 20 minutes or so with damaged bikes, so yeah, there must be more damage than we initially realized. So considering he was still pushing on in the 2-minute 22s and 23s, we've got a crash for the 86.
That's Emily Larty there.
Yeah, you're right.
He's spent a lot of time racing in the UK. I've raced against him quite a lot myself. Really nice guy. Very good mountain bike rider as well, but unfortunately had a little bit of a crash there.
Yeah, we've got another rider down there. That's the 27. That's Alex Olsen has gone down. So it looks like it's different parts of the track there, Taylor. Not sure if maybe there was a coming together, or maybe just a bit of a coincidence, but I think it's definitely a different part of the circuit there as we're watching the FCC Honda team making very rapid repairs to the machine. It looked like it was only cosmetic damage originally, but maybe there was a little bit more to it as well, as we see Emily Latty getting pushed away. And here's it coming out of Lacombe. Well, we've just seen the aftermath of the crash, and that bike's gone a long, long way. And yeah, cartwheeling its way through the gravel trap there, as you were talking about earlier on. And there's that's the eighth.
The 27 was Alex Olsen there.
You're right, it was, yes. So they actually did go down at the same part of the circuit, but just a corner apart. So, yeah, Alex Olsen there, that's a big disaster for Alex on the 27. And especially with a bike cartwheeling like that, that's the worst thing you've got to see as a rider.
And the engine's just gone too. Just as he started that, all that white smoke came out there. Perhaps could just be oil, but maybe the problem when you crash a bike like that and they end up upside down is they run upside down, and that isn't very good for a motorcycle when they run upside down. The oil isn't in the places it should be, and yeah, hopefully it's not terminal. But very unlike Alex as well. Alex is not a crasher, races a lot in the National Superstock 1000 Championship. Very experienced rider and new to world endurance racing. Not so much experience in that, but not like him to have a crash. So hopefully they get that bike fixed and back out there.
Yeah, big disaster for them. I was going to ask Taylor, like when you see a bike as a rider cartwheeling its way through the gravel trap, your heart must sink.
Yeah, yes, in a word. But you just brought back a lot of horrible memories for me there.
I'm sorry to do that, bringing back PTSD.
It's not so much the bike cartwheeling through the air, it's more the getting back to the garage to look at the mechanics, and especially in an endurance race, it's the last thing you want to do. Not just for the fact that you crashed and cost the team money and that side of it, but this is a real team sport. You've let down your teammates and all the mechanics. It's such a taxing sport.
Yeah, we're
just seeing Josh Cook's crash again here. Just unfortunately losing the front late into the corner. You can see there he's quite fortunate that the bike stayed down, skidded through the gravel, picked itself up right at the end and just touched the barrier. So not too much, it didn't appear to have too much damage. They're obviously changing the bodywork here, checking the foot pegs, things like that. I believe this is the guys that qualified on pole in the Superstock class.
Yeah, I believe it, right, that is.
The Kubo.
Yeah, and Etoli as well, the 25. So they've gone down somewhere around the circuit as well. So, yeah, the toll is real. That looks like it might be into Puyon they've gone down, or maybe the bike has just cried enough, because I don't see any marks on the gravel anywhere, or anywhere the foot pegs might have dug in. So maybe the bike and has just got it going again. So not quite sure what happened there to the 25, but of course if we hopefully get a replay of what's just happened. So the 25 got back up and running towards the end of the lap. So if there's any issue with that, thankfully they're very close to the pit lane to get that fixed in. There we are. We're seeing the change of the handlebar. I must admit, I'm even more impressed that Josh Hook managed to carry on. The fact that we're seeing so many parts getting replaced.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I believe we're going to be hearing from Masson in a few moments' time. He's just come in after his stint as we're watching the 25. It looks like they're really struggling to get back into the pits now, so a big disaster for them. So the team Etoli of Okubo, who races in Moto E as well, or has done in the last couple of years, podium in Le Mans a couple of years ago. He's not the tallest rider as Okubo, so his little legs will be pushing a lot. As we've got the number 9 down, they were leading the stock class a moment ago. Then they crashed out of third spot in that. That looks like it's down towards the corner with No Name, the brand new one, the left-hander, so in the middle of the lap. So that's a strange one coming out of that corner there, Taylor.
Yeah, well, until we get a replay, that looks like late on he could have had a high side and the bike skidded down the road.
Yeah, here we go, Loic Arbel. So yeah, I think you're right. Just gone late on, sliding down the road. Thankfully, both rider and machine off to the right of the circuit and out of the path of any following rider. So, yeah, Loic Arbel, the Frenchman, he's gone down there and thankfully got it back up and running again. And, yeah, the right-hand side of the screen there, a little bit bashed as we're watching a Kubo really struggling now. Yeah, that's not... it looks flat from the camera, doesn't it, Taylor? But that's quite uphill, that pit lane entrance.
Yeah, definitely not the tallest guy to be pushing the bike. Perhaps ran out of fuel if it was at the end of his stint, and that's why he's having to push it back. It's easy for that to get misjudged slightly, or the bike to use slightly more fuel than they're expecting. But yeah, really struggling, and he can't, until he gets that bike back to the pit lane, can't receive help from the team. So he has to get this across the line here before they can start pushing it back for him.
You can see them standing there at the line waiting for him, as we've just seen the FCC Honda heading back out, as we're going to hear from Etienne Masson.
Etienne, that was your first stint of the 8 hours. Talk to me about track conditions and how the bike's feeling.
The bike feeling is good. At the beginning, I was fast. I was with Josh, but he pushed a lot on the front and he crashed after a few laps. So I stay on my pace, not really fast like I want, but yeah, I'm less comfortable than yesterday, so I don't want to take some risk. The bike was good after maybe 15 laps of my stints, and yeah, we'll see what happened after, but the track conditions are not perfect because the temperature is very high and we lose some grip, so we'll see what happens after.
And do you think it's the temperature that's making you a little bit less comfortable than yesterday?
Yeah, we have less grip compared to yesterday due to the temperature, but the feeling is not so bad after. We need to find the limit and don't make a mistake.
How important is it to get the balance right in an 8-hour race, to do with your pit stops, fuel consumption, and then also pushing?
Yeah, sure. It's a little bit different compared to the 24 hours, so we need to push a lot, but we don't. We cannot make any mistake. So it's difficult to find the limit, but it's our job, and yeah, we'll see what happens after. But I'm really confident.
Good. We'll get some fluids. Thank you.
Big thank you there to Etienne Masson. He's just come off the bike and it looks like he's barely even broken a sweat out there.
Yeah, and really interesting what he was saying about the increase in track temperature, which effectively gives you less grip, and perhaps that's why we're seeing so many crashes in such a short period of time there. As the temperature's rising, we get to the middle part of the day, the hottest part of the day, and obviously affecting riders. The biggest place where we'll see that is where new riders are jumping on bikes that haven't been out since yesterday, and yeah, we're really seeing these crashes coming in.
Silva, you did a very strong stint for the first time with the BMW here. But it looks like it's difficult to maintain the same pace as the Suzuki and the Yamaha. And also, we saw that in the last sector, you are struggling with the edge grip.
Yeah. That's exactly what it's like. So, yeah, good stint. I needed in first stint to try and to go to 21 laps. So save a little bit of fuel. So I was a little bit conservative to start with, and then increase the pace as the stint went on. So yeah, this is the pace we can do. So this is it. We've got a super fast bike in a straight, which is great to overtake. But we're struggling a little bit, in the really long corners. But that said, I think the gap was quite, not going too far away from Yoshimura. So we'll keep pushing and see how it goes.
But we know that normally the BMW is one of the best bikes to save the fuel. But today, the Suzuki is making like 1 or 2 laps more than you. This was the plan for you?
Yeah, we're using a really strong engine here, so a different spec engine. It's a little bit more thirsty, but it's got quite a lot more horsepower. So this is part of the the development, part of where we want to go as well. Yeah, I think you saw it in the straight. It's it's pretty fast. So yeah, we are experimenting with this as well, trying to fine tune it, and hopefully we can we can get back to what we were with the fuel consumption. So far we've lost let's say we lost a lap, but it's work in progress.
Perfect. Good luck for the rest.
Merci.
Very interesting that from Sylvain Guintoli, developing parts. That's what Endurance World Championship is all about, as we're seeing him going up Eau Rouge and Radion. But yeah, constantly making progress with this BMW, and what a coup for the German manufacturer to manage to bring Sylvain Guintoli on board. Yeah,
he's incredibly experienced, World Superbike champion, raced in MotoGP, and a great all-round rider, and obviously using that experience to full effect. All the information they're gathering here is also feeding back to the World Superbike program. Sylvain's also the test rider during the week, him and alongside Bradley Smith. And yeah, like you said, they're trying new parts, developing new, faster engines. And it's also, with World Endurance, it's something that they would never have to consider riding on a short circuit, is saving fuel. You might consider saving your tyre on a short circuit race, but you'd never have to think about the fuel. You'd just be using the throttle and the maximum power of the engine the whole time. So having to balance that a little bit as well with his lap time at the start, trying not to use too much fuel, trying to be too thirsty. That then pays dividends later on in the race when they have one less pit stop effectively and save all that time.
Could it be that they're maybe sacrificing the Endurance World Championship a little bit for their Superbike program because we know that the BMW are really putting a lot of effort into their Superbike program now to maybe win the championship and maybe push on to another class in the future?
Yeah, I don't know if they necessarily sacrifice this, but it will definitely, the information they'll use here will be for that. I'm pretty sure that the World Endurance team that we see here is also their test team. So I was talking to Bradley Smith just last week in Misano, because we were at a World Superbike test, which he would normally be at, and he wasn't there because his team is this team effectively that's away testing for the World Endurance race. So they still take this very seriously. They're still testing for this race like they would as normal. But it's definitely this information that they're gathering here is also very useful for World Superbike with Toprak and Vandermark over there.
Yeah, Toprak and Vandermark will be hoping to get their hands on this engine sooner rather than later, because we saw at the start of the race it was breezing past the yard like it was standing still, to be honest. So yeah, we know it's got a lot of punch, does the BMW machine, and yeah, you couldn't really take the smile off of Sylvain Guintoli's face. He was beaming from ear to ear with it, to be honest, when he was speaking there. Yeah,
so as a motorbike rider, there's nothing better than having the fastest engine on the grid. Sometimes it can be a pain if because a faster engine does bring its problems. You can create more spin, it can be harder to ride, more aggressive. But on a track like this, where you've got such long straights, there's nothing better than having the fastest bike on the grid.
Well, we've been seeing that from the Yamaha MotoGP team. Fabio Quartararo has been asking for a faster engine for years. They finally got it, but that's just created more problems with spinning coming out of the corners. So they've lost the Yamaha, the power that it used to have, the technique it used to have, the strong points it used to have, and sort of substituted with a faster bike, which is not necessarily the best thing, is it?
Yeah, I mean, so many times I've said I just need a faster engine, then you get the faster engine, you went, oh, not that fast. That was too much. Especially, we feel it more in British superbikes where there's less electronics involved, there's no traction control or anti-wheelie. When you're just dealing with a raw engine at that point, that's when it really makes a difference. But in this, they've got full electronics, they maximise the potential of the engines, and having a faster bike here definitely helps. But having said that, a problem here is fuel consumption. That's far more important in this race than it would be in a short circuit race.
For a circuit like this, there's a few stop and start sections, but also long straights as well. I guess that just eats up the fuel consumption.
Yeah, especially in these long straights, that's where the bike's absolutely flat out and it's sucking fuel out of it. yeah, that's where Sylvain's talking about that. It's more of a, plays more of a part at tracks like this. Some shorter tracks, they would have to think less about the fuel consumption. But here, taking a new engine into a race like this, until they get into the race situation, they're not going to know exactly how that's going to fare either. So, especially as well, we've also seen that the temperatures have increased today, so that will also play a part in how the fuel's coming into the bike.
So we're just approaching the 2-hour mark of the 8 hours of Spa, and the number 1 Yart Yamaha, they've got the number 1 for a reason, last year's champions, continue to lead the way with Karel Hanneke on the bike now, setting incredible lap times. He was in the 2:21 last few laps. We're just watching the 333 Honda machine there, pushing on a little bit.
You will participate in your first endurance race in the EWC Championship, Suzuka 8 Hour. It's a big challenge for you now.
Yeah, pretty happy. I knew that the 8 hours I will do one day. Even the 24 hours of Le Mans, Castellet, it's races that I say I will do one day. 8 hours is part of it. And I was thinking maybe this year is possible because the date is the same time as the Superbike, so the Superbike rider won't be available. But Honda didn't ask me immediately. And when they asked me, they were surprised that I said, yes, I would like to do it. And so we managed the things. And it seems I can enjoy in July. It's a good experience to do, and I will take it really to enjoy it because it's a different level. The big pressure is on the MotoGP races, but because we are struggling at the moment, it's also an opportunity to get some freedom and do some other things to get fun. And yeah, the maximum energy is on the MotoGP races, but a bit less pressure because we are not fighting for podium at the moment. So that's also the reason why it's a good opportunity this year to do it.
Johan Zarco there speaking, I believe it was last weekend at the Italian Grand Prix, just before he was announced as part of the Honda team for the Suzuka 8 hours in just a few weeks' time. And a big moment for him, a big moment for Honda. It'll be great to see what Johan Zarco can do, considering Honda aren't having the easiest time of things in MotoGP at the moment. And yeah, the less said about that, the better, I assume. But thankfully, the production bikes are doing very well, sitting in 4th and 5th position at the moment. And they'll be taking the Suzuka 8 hours by storm in just a few weeks' time. The number 4 on screen now, after having a hardy battle with the 333 earlier on. Tati Team Berenger with Randy Krummenacher on the bike. We've seen him running with number 4 throughout most of his career, including his World Super Sport triumph back in 2018. A fantastic little rider is Randy Krummenacher, and a rider that I believe maybe you've raced against, Taylor, or is someone you haven't come across during your time?
I don't actually know. It would have been a transition period because he was a little bit before me on a 125, and he used to race for KTM on the Red Bull KTM, I remember back then. Very talented, always very fast, and sort of didn't really show his full potential till he got to World Super Sport, winning that category by storm, really. And then fell by the wayside. There was a bit of a legal battle at one point, I think, with MV Augusta. I'm not sure quite what happened there, and I don't want to get sued, so I won't get involved in that one. But it sort of that put an end to his Supersport career. He's now ended up in the World Endurance Championship. But yeah, great rider, very experienced, had raced all around the world for a lot of years, and very fast. So he's got every chance in this race.
Yeah, I remember him coming through I think the Red Bull rookies weren't about at the time. We just saw the rider on screen, actually, Johan Zarco. He was the inaugural Red Bull Rookies Cup champion back in 2007 when they were running the 125 KTMs. But Randy Krummenacher, I believe, was racing for KTM in the 125 championship back in 2007. Picked up a podium that year along with Koyama was his teammate that year as well, so I can't believe that was 17 years ago already, and Randy Krummenacher is still setting the world alight. A bit of a bobble there through Les Combes for old Randy. The Krummenator, as my colleague Matt Dunn used to love to call him when he was racing in the Moto E last year. So with 2 hours gone, 6 hours to go, it's still the Yart machine leading the way ahead of the Yoshimura Cert Moto team. And then the number 37 of Mikkel Čech on the BMW Motorrad, rounding out the podium positions as we see the number 27 finally making it back to the pits, and Alex Olsen maybe trying out a new career as an endurance runner for the Olympics, up and coming. But it's good to see that they will be back in the race, hopefully within the next few moments. We'll see what the damage is on that number 27 machine. Anyway, we'll be handing back over to the incredible hands of Tom Gaymore and Simon Patterson for the next 1 hour, and we'll be waiting for...
What a glowing endorsement that is.
I'll try my best, Tom, giving you the big up for the next 1 hour. Hopefully you enjoyed your lunch there.
What could go wrong? Yes, I did. I had a almost 1% away from a croque monsieur. So not having a croque monsieur, the team 2017, because as you can see, the bike looking very second-hand, and such a disappointing moment for them, because up until this point, the 2-hour mark, it had been going so well. The TR27 machine right up at the sharp end of the Superstock class, but now all of that hard work has eroded away with one little mistake, and that's all it takes, really.
That, unfortunately, is the nature of endurance racing, isn't it?
And we were just saying, with the 24-hour races, you could almost get away with it, but you just cannot afford those glitches in these shorter races. And we've seen it at the Suzuka 8-hour over and over again. You just end up playing catch-up. As soon as you make that mistake, you just cannot undo the damage. Whereas the 24-hour races, it's not so much that you can undo the damage, you can chip away at that, but it's more a case of others start to run into trouble as well.
Well, that's it exactly, isn't it? It's a strange mix where you kind of, because it's such a short race, you have to come into it with the approach of a sprint. But you have to also be aware of the dangers that come with an endurance format. And it's almost a constant balancing act for these guys. You have to push harder than you do at Le Mans or at Paul Ricard, but you can't push too hard. You can't push like it's a British Superbike race or something like that. It's not easy, and it's a real, it's a real test to have both of these types of races in the same calendar, essentially.
Making it look easy, though, without putting the commentator's curse on them, the Yamaha 12 seconds up the road, and we talked about their fuel consumption. Now they've lost the threat of the FCC TSR Honda. They've got the Yoshimura Cert machine behind, but a 12-second advantage just allows them to manage the race, allows them to save fuel, allows them to roll off the throttle at the end of the straights, allows them to just be that more conservative with the machine. And all the while, that'll help the race management. It also helps the reliability, Simon. When you're not stressing the machine as much, you stand more of a chance of getting to the checkered flag. They are, of course, the reigning champions. They won this race last year as well. Incidentally, that was the first win for Yacht in a 24-hour race since 2009, 14 years.
That's a lot longer than I realised it had been, to be perfectly honest.
It's mad how quickly time passes by. Especially when you're as young as we are.
The problem with this right now for Yacht, and the massive benefit that Cert has, is that it's really difficult to look at this and not feel like the Suzuki has a massive advantage, because we know that they're going to do one pit stop less.
Well, let's look back at what happened a couple of hours ago. The pole sitters, Yamaha, they got off to a good start. The best start went to Yoshimura Cert on the Suzuki. Poor old Alan Teixeira on the FCC TSR Honda was left stranded on the right-hand side of your screen. It didn't take long, though, for Alan Teixeira to climb his way back up the field. And soon the Honda was in second place. Then it was all about trying to find a way past the BMW. Alan Teixeira managing that. Greg Black had been stuck behind the BMW Motorrad machine for the whole of the opening stint. Marvin Fritz would take over from Nicolo Canepa. Damien Saunier looking on as Yoshimura Cert would hit second place. Yep, that is the FCC TSR Honda of Josh Hook at Campus, going off, tucking the front, a costly mistake. They would lose 6 minutes in the pit lane, and that has allowed the lead to grow. Yoshimura Cert have settled into second, and all the while FCC TSR Honda, having climbed back up in the opening stages, are having to do it all again.
You can get away with doing something like that once. You can't get away with it twice. Not in an 8-hour race. You know, we see already that it's stacked against them. They're all the way down in 23rd. They're 4 laps down. You get the you get the sensation that they've thrown away a win today.
Yamaha lead Yoshimura Cert with BMW Motorrad in third. The top stocker is the Aprilia. Luca Bernardi aboard that machine in 8th. Wayne Tessels, the Ice Rabbit, on the Chrome Burner machine in 2nd in the stockers, with the number 44, the Honda No Limits bike, up there in 3rd. 10th overall. And then KM99 much further back. Alan Teixeira is much further back as well. They both had crashes. The number 5 machine, the number 99, and the pole sitter in terms of Team Etoile also further down than they would have liked, having hit trouble. They are in 25th position. So, ticking over the 2-hour mark, Yamaha looking very comfortable. That gap continuing to grow out front. Yoshimura Cert. Dan Linford on the bike in 2nd place, with the BMW making it 3 different manufacturers in the top 3. Ilya Michalak on board that bike, the Ukrainian. They've all made 2 stops each. And, of course, now it's Bridgestone versus Dunlop in terms of the top 3 and the tyre walls in the Endurance World Championship class. All the super stockers are on Dunlop tyres, but we have a mixture in the top class. We've got 7 bikes on the Pirelli as well, but the Bridgestone wasn't the tyre to have when it came to Yamaha. In the first weekend of this championship at Le Mans, the temperatures really playing havoc with what compound they chose and the issues that they faced. But nevertheless, here, not too much of an issue, much warmer, 18 degrees ambient. A beautiful spring summer's day here in the Ardennes. The track temperatures up there in the operating windows. There is your 2nd place machine, Yoshimura Cert. Looking strong here, having won the opening race. And I suppose when you look at the championship picture, you know, 2nd place, consolidating that. It's not the worst result in the world, given the points haul that they earned at Le Mans.
No, absolutely not. I think there's an element of biding their time at the minute from the Suzuki squad. You know, if Yart's own predictions about needing 1 pit stop more are right, they're going to need to go into the last hour of this with, what, a minute of a lead? And at the minute, it's still hovering around that 12, 13 second mark. they've got a lot of work to do to stretch that out over the next 4 hours to give them a bit of comfort margin. And really, until we see that pulled out a bit more, I can't help but think that you know, Cert will be quietly confident about what's going on right now.
You can see the tyre manufacturer wars on the right-hand side of your screen. Bridgestone, Dunlop. Next 3 are, of course, Pirelli's, the 333 leading that charge. The Honda Villeters bike. We haven't seen too much of that Honda Villeters bike. It looks full factory, doesn't it? I love the livery on that.
It does.
Bike.
It's a beautiful looking machine. Yeah, we saw it get caught very early on by Alan Teche as he recovered from that bad start. Dismissed very quickly, and we've not really seen it since, have we?
That was in the hands of Steven Odendaal, the South African. Seen lots of the BMW, and Vasily Michalak aboard the machine at the moment. Marcus Reiterberger and Sylvain Quintoli, his teammates too. Welcome to our Eurosport 2 viewers. This is what you've missed so far. 2 hours ago, or just over, the race got underway. And it was a really quick start for Greg Black on the Yoshimura Cert machine, swamping the pole-sitting Yamaha. The FCC TSR Honda was left on the grid. Alan Teche had to fight back, and hitting the front after not quite the start they were hoping was Nicolo Canepa. Canepa scampered off into the distance. Alan Teche was recovering to pass Marcus Reiterberger on the BMW for second, with Greg Black in the wheel tracks of that BMW, having followed the BMW for almost the whole of the opening stint. Eventually, Greg Black would get by. The Yamaha the first to stop. Alan Teche would drop back into the clutches of Greg Black. And then, not long ago, Josh Hook had taken over the FCC TSR Honda up at Campus. He tucked the front. An innocuous-looking crash. That's allowed the Yamaha to extend its lead. The Yoshimura Cert bike is up to second place. The FCC TSR bike spent 6 minutes in pit lane and is down to 22nd. Well, as always, the efficiency of this team doing their best to minimise the damage. No Mike Melio, of course, because of his injury, having crashed at Nagaro last week. But as it stands, Yamaha lead the Suzuki squad, the factory BMW team in third, and the Aprilia down in 8th on that first page, leading the super stock class. Kronbrunner RAC Honda in second, Honda No Limits in third, 10th overall. As we return back to live pictures. And this is the National Motors bike, just following the Honda No Limits machine, the Kronbrunner RAC 41 bike there as well. So this is second, third and fourth in class.
I'm really impressed so far with that Aprilia, the 111 machine leading the Superstock class. Didn't expect that at all. Not a pace that they've shown all weekend. We saw them get into the lead early off the line, and I thought, nah, they've made a good start. Some of the other favourites have got a bit tied up in it or something like that, but no. They've just been setting their pace, setting good lap after good lap at the front. It's a really, really impressive job.
Guillaume Ramond on that National Motors bike. It's got like a real Neil Hodgson style old school riding technique there with the sort of head up, you know what I mean? So many of the youngsters nowadays use a real head over, that sort of Marc Marquez,
tucked in, elbows out style, yeah.
It's rare that you see that sort of Neil Hodgson style approach.
Of course, you know, without piling on him again. Chris Walker, Neil Hudson's great rival in this race.
Incredible, really. Here is the lead bike in super stock, the Aprilia in early. It's been in early all the time.
Yeah, I think
but
it's got the pace, but they're guzzling the fuel, aren't they?
It's got, very much like the super stock BMW, a lot of aero on that bike.
Yeah, they've really been one of the leaders in the aero wars in MotoGP. It's something that Ducati pioneered, but it's really Aprilia and KTM that have been moving it along over the last few seasons, and it's trickling down to their street bikes, down to their road bikes. You can see it on the road. Of course you do. Everyone needs to control their wheelie away from the traffic lights, don't they?
In all these 20-mile-an-hour zones we have in London. I think we're seeing one or two of the EWC bikes in as well. Tati Team Beringer last time around, as we watch the RAC Chrome Burner squad. 41 machine now, leading in class. That's Wayne Tessels, nicknamed the Ice Rabbit. You'll see that on his leathers. It's a long story, don't ask.
I was just thinking we should dispatch Savvy Simeon to get an explanation for that whenever he's off the bike next. Just, educate everyone.
Exactly that. But Wayne Tessels has been around for a long, long time in this class. A real safe pair of hands. Just behind him.
Of course, kind of a name that you could mistake for being French, but he's not, is he? He's Dutch, so this is as close as he gets to a home race as well, just across the border in Belgium.
It is. Plenty of orange make their way across for the Grand Prix here, Formula One. No guesses who they're supporting. I'm sure one or two of the Dutch fans have made their way across here to support their riders as well.
This race is another venture of Claude Michet Promotions, the genius Frenchman who's behind the huge success of the French MotoGP round. We had 118,000 fans along on race day alone this year for that. I think the biggest race day attendance in modern era in MotoGP. He's really turned it into a huge festival event, and it's good to see him turning his attentions to endurance as well. It's going to be interesting to see over the next few years what he can build here at Spa with the 8-hour race.
Well, look at Le Mans in terms of the EWC weekend. Kicked off this calendar, of course. That was its usual vibrant self, and we talked about the antics in the campsites over the course of that weekend. No such drama here. Nothing on fire as far as I can see.
That shouldn't really be the measure of a safe and successful motorsport event, is it? But nonetheless, there we are. That's it's all part of the French charm that comes with the Le Mans.
Well, there is the Honda Vitesse bike, the 333 in that sort of full factory livery. Really good-looking bike, that.
Very much inspired by the factory Honda Fireblade in the World Superbike Championship. Very similar colours to that.
Race leaders are in.
They are.
So that is Karel Haneker off the bike, Nicolo Canepa back on, and that cements a full cycle in terms of everyone being on the bike. So Canepa, who started on this machine, and it's fair to say the #1 rider here.
Yeah, I think over the last few years what he's shown us is that he's consistently the fastest guy in this championship right now on that bike. He was rapid for most of the race at Le Mans. He was the guy that set the pace for them.
That in the night.
There wasn't there, where he was just magic. Yeah.
But there's not much between them. And Karel Haneker, former Grand Prix rider as well. Very quick.
Like Florian Alton in P4, former Red Bull Rookies Cup champion.
I tried to don't push at the beginning.
Let's listen in.
The last 5 laps, I could go faster, but I was a bit unlucky with the traffic and one mistake. But in general, when I was doing the 21, 5, 6, in the front, I didn't push like maybe in the practice. Also at the beginning with the weight. Maybe it was not the bike. Yeah, the rear was quite constant. Maybe the -1 I would go earlier.
Yeah, so much like we expected in the tyre front there from that. Still a pretty constant rear tyre from the Dunlop. You know, they've not been particularly happy with the front, even coming into this weekend, as well as at Le Mans. You know, it still sounds like the weakness that there is in that package, as much as there is one at the minute, because obviously it's working very well when you look at the times they're setting. But, you know, you'd rather, as a rider, you'd rather have a little bit of an issue with the rear than the front. Certainly somewhere like Spa, with all those big, fast, blind corners that take so much commitment.
I mean, so much of the development of this tyre delivered around Suzuka, of course, and the sweltering temperatures of the Suzuka 8 hour. They have various different compounds available to them that they can use throughout the race, and the Bridgestone operating window has dramatically improved, hasn't it? There was a case, you know, going back just over a handful of years ago, that when the temperature dropped, you literally just couldn't run them.
Yeah, no, you know, they're, like we said earlier, Suzuka are in this championship, or Bridgestone are in this championship to win Suzuka, and the temperatures at Suzuka are not really like the temperatures anywhere else. Whenever it decides to be, it's
a tad warm.
It's a little bit, ever so slightly, you know.
Just what you're used to back home, Simon.
I think it's probably the hottest I've ever been at a circuit.
Yeah.
We were there in, I think, maybe 2017 or 2018, and it was a hot year for Suzuka. And of course, Suzuka is a race that's held at the time of the year it is, because race founders Honda wanted to test riders and machines to the limits, so they had it at the hottest point of the Japanese summer. But we had one year that was even hot by local standards.
And it's the humidity as well.
Whenever it's combined with the humidity, it's just devastating. I remember reigning British Superbike champion Tommy Bridewell raced that year, and I think he lost something like 11 kilos.
Yeah, it's horrible. It really is. And you see the riders in the cool suits and pools and everything, just trying to get ready for the stints coming up. We have a lovely day here in the Ardennes, but it's not quite that warm as we follow the Yamaha. I think Dan Lipford is still out on track. Yes, he is. So Yoshimura Cert going stronger at the moment. Going well out front, I should say, as we go down to pit lane to hear from Carol Haneke.
Carol, I know that it's getting really hot out there. Talk me through the track conditions and how you found that last stint.
Yeah, my first stint, so I basically wanted to get used to the condition because, of course, it's hot, but to be honest, on the top of the track is a lot of wind. So you have to change the line and the riding style to adapt with this. But for the rest, the bike is working very well. We are trying to maintain our pace. Of course, the guys behind are super strong, so you cannot rest for one lap. And when you get the one left rider wrong, you can lose easy 1 second, but it's difficult to catch up back. So just trying to get through the traffic as clean as possible. And yeah, we're doing our best. My teammates riding amazing, so can't wait for the next team.
When I spoke to Etienne earlier, he mentioned that the grip was becoming really difficult. Have you found the same thing or not?
We are okay with the grip, I would say. Everybody's struggling in these conditions, so we will just have to manage with the electronics and with the riding style. But yeah, it's a very good job from Bridgestone for us, so we are very happy for now.
Brilliant. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Track temperature very different here than it was last time out at Le Mans, and if anything, when it gets a bit warmer, the track temperature, that is, the tyres just starts to get a little bit greasy out there. And when the riders are talking about leaning on the electronics, obviously the electronic packages that these bikes have available to them, very, very advanced. That just stops not only the anti-wheelie, but more the rear wheel spin, as well as engine braking and various different other things. So important to a modern day world superbike, Simon.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's all part of the package. It's all part of what takes so long to get dialed in coming into the weekend, but they've clearly got it there.
So Yamaha having it all their own way at the moment. The FCC TSR Honda machine was very, very quick, but that's been down the road if you're just joining us. So it's down to Yoshimura Cert and the factory BMW squad, together with the Honda Villeters bike, the 333, and the likes of Kawasaki in 5th place to try and do something about the pace of Nicolo Canepa aboard that Yamaha. But just look how much further the Yoshimura Cert bike is going at the moment.
Just watching Dan Linfoot ride past the entrance to pit lane there and thinking, you know what, this race is going to be won in the pits, isn't it? They're going to do this on fuel efficiency right now. They're looming large over the Yart team in terms of just how much they're able to stretch out extra from a tank of fuel in this machine.
And we were talking before we came on air about the JP43 Racing by Mako bike, the Pridmore prepped machine. We saw them stopped on track at the end of the opening stint. You've got an update as to what happened there.
Yeah, spoke with Andrew Lee, who was on the bike at the time they stopped, and it sounds like they had a bit of a problem with the fuel light. He was staying out until the light come on. The light didn't come on, and the next thing, the bike was out of fuel at the side of the track. So unfortunate for them, because Andrew was doing a good job on it. Jason Pridmore back on the bike at the minute and still lapping quite consistently, but they're all the way down in 32nd now.
There's Dan Linfoot. You spoke to him after his first win in a 24-hour race at Le Mans. I said, did he find it tiring? He said, no, he was in good spirits.
He was. He gave me a ring, actually, on the drive home from Le Mans, and didn't expect to hear him so chipper. But, you know, it sounds like all the benefits of being in that cert team played to Dan's strengths. He's a super, super fit guy. Right? That's never been in doubt. But whenever you've got the support network of, you know, physio, nutritionist, good food, somewhere nice to relax in between stints, he actually came out of the whole thing, in much fresher shape than I was.
Sounds
and all
like
I did was talk about it.
Your Grand Prix weekend, Simon.
It's all about finding the best chefs in the paddock, you know. That's the secret to it.
But, you know, jokes apart, when riders are sort of, and he's finally in this time around, and he's gone a good, you know, 3 laps, maybe 4 laps longer. When riders are, you know, fighting hard in the 24-hour races for the first time under the pressure and the scrutiny of being with a top team, kind of see their faces get longer and longer as the day goes on, because the mental fatigue as well as the physical fatigue is quite something. Race leaders are in. This is Yoshimura Cert. Dan Linfoot bringing in the bike. He will hand over to Greg Black, who started the bike. Last of the front runners to stop, bar the Honda Villeters machine that's still out there. And I think Roman Ramos on that Kawasaki, the wee bike, Trickstar Kawasaki. Now let's see what the gap is between Yoshimura Cert and Yamaha. It was about sort of 12 seconds or so. Well, we'll see as Dan Linfoot goes straight into his debrief. The engineers will want to know absolutely everything. Hey, it doesn't look like he's really worked up too much of a sweat out there.
I enjoy. So did we.